Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I almost rear-ended a car today. I was literally, I'll admit it, I was staring at my phone a little bit, and right as I looked up, I slammed the brakes, and I bet you I came a centimeter away from the car in front of me. I don't know how it didn't hit it, because it felt like it didn't feel like I'd hit it, but it felt like I was close enough to have hit it. So I got lucky. Now, I wanted to bring everybody's attention to something on coinpaprika.com, who is one of my sponsors. Look who has outperformed Bitcoin and Ethereum. I actually outlined it here. Secret you won't hear on CNBC or CoinDesk. XRP has outperformed both Bitcoin and Ethereum, with them being the only two that have this fake regulatory advantage. For all these years, XRP is outperforming them underneath a fake SEC lawsuit. For 7 days, 30 days, quarter, and year. How about them apples? How about these apples? Whale alert, 270 million XRP bought by whales. Tokens worth around 130.2 million in XRP. Almost 270 million XRP have been transmitted from several cryptocurrency exchanges to many unknown addresses in the past 24 hours. This is from the other day, I think. The largest ever buy was on Bitso crypto market for 54.1 million XRP. Approximately 27.5 million worth of XRP coins were purchased by a whale all at once. However, the whales have been buying up XRP on Bitstamp platform to the tune of nearly 84.1 million to their XRP holdings. Whales have just added more than $41.4 million over many trades. Meanwhile, a massive transaction involving 132 million XRP, about $62.1 million, was also spotted in the by the whale tracker. A massive XRP whale. All right, cool. I showed you parts of this video in the last video, but they posted the whole video of Brad Garlinghouse. There was one other clip I wanted you to see. He brings up the fact that the SEC has not been willing to show those documents around the Hinman speech.
I would characterize the SEC has built a reputation that's deserved as being a bully. Many players that the SEC has gone after, they simply have to fold their cards. Ripple will spend well over $100 million defending ourselves in a case that we have tried to move forward as quickly as we can, and the SEC has gone as slowly as they can. Another example I think is pretty profound. There's a kind of infamous speech that Bill Hinman, the director of corporate finance in the SEC, gave in June of 2018 saying ETH is not a security. And the judge 5 times in the last 18 months, the judge in our case, she has ordered the SEC to turn over the notes in that case 5 times. We still don't have those notes. And I look at that as like the SEC, it is a government agency. The government works for the people. The judge is ordering the SEC to turn these notes over, and they won't do it. And they keep coming up with new reasons why. So much so that the judge, in her most recent ruling, said the SEC is being hypocritical, and I will quote, saying not following a faithful allegiance to the law. These are damning words for an agency whose mission is stated as to protect investors. In the case of the the Ripple lawsuit, they destroyed $15 billion of value in the XRP market when they filed the lawsuit. That was not protecting investors.
You're darn right it wasn't. Now, this is a video I don't remember if I've shown or seen in the last few years. It's Miguel Valles, and I wanted to show you this. It's pretty interesting. This is from 4 years ago in Seoul. I've probably shown some of the videos from that, but I don't remember. But if you watch this, you see how big the plans for Ripple were even 4 years ago.
So, I had that slide up there earlier around the Internet of Value and, the goal of the company to move money the way information moves. And this chart basically, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this one around the Internet, but what the Internet did for communication is what the company wants to do for value and money. We want to bring down the cost of international payments as low as we can. And what that'll do is that will enable very different types of payments. It'll also enable the ability of some of these banks to bank folks that today they can't bank. It may enable things like IoT, micropayments. It'll change the landscape of finance as we know it if we can be successful. And it's audacious. What I just described is a fintech startup in San Francisco trying to change the underlying rails of an international finance system and then competing with a correspondent banking system. These are not small things. But if we're successful, we think that the world can be significantly different and really affect change on the scale of the internet. That's all I got.
All right, I thought that was an interesting flashback. Check this out, CoinDesk. The ECB is looking at a combination of distributed ledger technology and existing infrastructure for improving interbank settlements. What does that sound like? According to board member, Now, this is Jeremy Kaufman, who's the CEO of Library. He's the one that's wearing the FDSEC shirt. This was him being interviewed, I think, while he was at MainNet. But listen to what he says here, but based on what he's saying, this Library decision is imminent. Listen to what he says here. Well, I'm going to have to do the old refresh button here. All right.
Library has been fighting the SEC for coming up on 5 years. We have mutually filed for summary judgment in the federal court in New Hampshire, and the judge said he was going to rule by 3 days ago. And he has to rule by October 3rd or the trial starts, okay? So literally over the next couple of days, maybe I'll be back in the booth if it comes out, we could see that come out. And this is a big case. I don't know how much detail you want to get into, but the facts in this case will apply to basically every company in this room. So it's going to affect a lot of companies.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. And, the SEC has very much demonstrated that they are out to damage or destroy the cryptocurrency industry in the United States.
All right. And then I wanted to, this is John Deaton commenting on this. He says, the Library case will be a case discussed in law schools across the country as a blatant example of government overreach, intrusion, and an unconstitutional expansion of regulatory powers. Now, against that backdrop, I want you to see this that Stefan Huber just posted. Imagine that you're the Ripple executives or the library CEO, Jeremy Kaufman. Imagine that you're these guys and you're being sued and raked over the coals by the SEC while this guy has no repercussions.
Token launching is also an enormous activity. So whether we're issuing an investor token, a security, or a consumer utility token, that is growing into a big business, and we have a lot of activity.
How's the contribution of that part of the business changed? I imagine that was enormous in terms of, say, the percent of revenue, the percent of profit, maybe 6 months to 12 months ago. But as we see what's happening in the overall market right now, is that becoming a risk to your business?
No, it's a great opportunity for us.
Even with these tokens crashing 80, 90%?
We're not so worried about pullbacks like that.
Why would you be worried about, if you can issue tokens at will, like Joseph Lubin's been doing, if you can just issue tokens anytime you want and retain ownership, nobody knows, because what does he call it? Internal transparency, which means we're not showing anybody what we're getting. If you can issue tokens at will, the way he's been doing, then why would you care about an 80% drop? You just issue another token. Give them a new project.
We continue to issue tokens. We've been doing a very good job of issuing securities law compliant tokens from the start. To
my knowledge, there are no tokens that you can issue that are compliant based on what Gary Gensler says.
Bill Hinman, Director of Corporate Finance of the SEC, about 2 months ago made remarks about Ether, that it's not a security. Yep. But more importantly, he made remarks about consumer utility tokens, and that if they are architected properly in terms of the software, if they are marketed properly, so not sold in enormous quantities to speculators, then that could, those tokens can be essentially embody the business logic of these network business models, these protocol-based open platforms, and we're seeing lots of activity still on that.
I'm not going to play any more of that because if the library guy happens to be watching, it may make him want to throw up on his computer, because this is a sham, and it's going to be a sham until they do something about it. If I would not want to be Joseph Lubin, because you're talking about a sitting duck. Gary says if it walks like a duck, well, there is nothing in digital assets that walks like a duck more than Ethereum. Nothing. And then, I don't know what's going on here with JP Morgan, but they're wary of the Ethereum network post-merge. Ethereum post-merge has raised concerns among leading figures in finance institutions, including JP Morgan. What that makes me wonder is if they're throwing Joseph Lubin overboard. CoinDesk, Interpol has reportedly issued a red notice. I didn't know what a red notice was. That's great thumbnail stuff right there. Red notice. We got to write that down. Red notice. Notice for Joseph Lubin. No, I mean Do Kwon. Red notice issued. The Terraform Labs co-founder says he isn't on the run, but his location is unknown after Singapore authorities, and he's not in the city-state. Well, and then this tweet came out that he says he's making zero effort to hide from authorities. Then there was this. There was a couple of interesting tweets from Dilip Rao. Now, if we've learned anything about people that work at Ripple, they don't become unemployed. They just go somewhere. Well, I've heard someone say it. I think Mr. B said to me one time, he said, they don't become unemployed. They get deployed to places where they can help to build things on the XRP ledger. That's what it feels like. Just released white paper, Australian CBDC pilot for digital finance innovation, industry engagement invited to submit use cases and pilot most compelling with real, whatever that is. Reserve Bank of Australia, we've issued a joint media release with Digi Finance CRC. I'll follow them. White paper on CBDC research project. I'm betting you dimes to donuts that Australian CBDC is going to be built on the XRP ledger. Then you got this. Tether's former auditor Friedman LLP is a serial violator of federal securities laws according to the SEC. They just got fined $1 million. Uh-oh. Ripple tweeted this following last week's Ubri Connect. We're thrilled to see 17 of our Ubri partners celebrated as this year's best universities for blockchain. They got a whole list. And then Ripple announced this, that this Token 2049 summit in Singapore, Brooks Entwistle is going to be there. We'll make sure that we're following that. Look who else is going to be there. This is Pascal Gauthier. He's the CEO of Ledger. And Ledger, is one of my sponsors. If you don't have a Ledger Nano S, you need to, or not Nano S, they don't have that one anymore, but Nano S Plus, they have a backup pack where you can get both of them for 10% off, the Nano X and the Nano S Plus. That's where I store most of my digital assets to keep them safe. You should too. Link's in the very top of the description. Click on the link and tell them DAI sent you. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family to go visit my sponsor, Ledger. These guys are rocking and rolling.